Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to When We Walk. This is a little podcast where we discuss the questions we all ask as we walk through life. My name is Micah.
I'm Shireen.
Let's chat.
Okay, do you remember when I can't remember if we were dating or like you were still trying to win me over?
Okay.
If we were official yet?
I'm still trying to win you over.
Oh, that's true. That's the way it should be. But you were in the process of getting your very first personal computer laptop.
Yes.
It was still when laptops were like
Yes.
a luxury.
Of owning a laptop.
And you bought it off eBay, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which at that point, eBay wasn't doing the whole verified.
No,
like,
not really. No. Yeah.
It was a total risk.
Total risk. And I had very little money, but I wanted it so bad.
You wanted it so bad. I don't think it was even like a name brand.
No, it was.
It was?
It was a Sony Vaio. V-A-I-O, Sony Vaio. And the thing about it was it came in parts because I like things that are small, clean.
I do remember it was
simple,
small.
like minimalist. And it was like the only version of that at the time. This was before like, MacBook Airs and all that kind of stuff.
This was probably 2003.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Uh-huh.
And so Sony was kind of
2002.
leading the way with these like really sleek laptops. And I just so badly wanted one. I don't even know where it was coming. I just so badly wanted a laptop.
It was not like
the idea
you
of being
used a
able.
computer all the time.
It was
either.
so. If you go back to like when I was in high school, I wanted a Palm Pilot so bad. So bad.
Wow, we are so dating ourselves.
And then
Great.
in college, all through college, I wanted a laptop, and I only had a big clunky desktop, and I couldn't wait to finally have enough money. The idea of portability and technology that's why when the iPhone came out, it was like, this is the thing I've been dreaming.
That was like your dream.
Dreaming of.
Yes.
Anyway, so this Vaio, it had all these, so like the hard drive was like
external.
separate.
Yeah.
And the CD burner was separate. So it had all these little, because it was so sleek. It was
so
it had
small.
all these like plugins, like you had to attach to it to have it do anything. And it was just not a good purchase at all.
So this is why I think it's so funny, is because this was my first introduction.
Was I so excited about it?
You talked about it so much.
Did I really?
And you were so excited.
Yeah.
All your roommates were talking about how excited you were about this.
Yes.
And I was still getting to know you, and I'm like, I don't understand this guy. Like, what's so exciting about buying this thing? And then it didn't work. Or it didn't
last long.
It did not last long.
I even built I built a little computer stand for it, so that it could sit and all its accessories could sit underneath.
You did.
And it
remember
would
that.
not take up my whole desktop.
But you spent a ton of money that you didn't
More
have.
than I had.
More than you had.
Yeah,
and it
all
didn't
that I had.
last long.
It did not last long.
And
It was not a wise purchase.
So disappointing.
It was not wise.
And I remember I just had the thought, like, I don't know where to put this in my category for you. And then it turns out now,
it's just who I am.
It's just who you are. You are like a marketer's dream.
Yep.
Because
sexy packaging will draw me in every time.
Things with like compartments or that like are sleek or seem to give you a lifestyle, or I don't know.
If it makes my life easier, cleaner, simpler.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of that.
All those things. Yeah.
And that was just the first time I saw that about you.
Yeah.
And then here we are.
Yeah. I have been suckered many times by products.
You fit in some ways that like perfect consumer, the person that someone is marketing to.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably so. I'm
For a lot of
typical
things,
American.
not everything, but
I'm a good American, playing my part. Playing my part in feeding the consumer culture and being a part of it, which is what we should talk about today.
Which is what we're going to talk about.
The consumer culture of our world.
Consumer culture.
It's so in the air that we don't even realize that it's actually a thing. It feels like it's normal life, but it's actually not. Kind of the overarching kind of environment in which we live, which constantly says you need more.
Yep.
You need to get this, do this, have this, for a variety of reasons, but it's the more mentality.
Yeah. Which I remember reading a long time ago. I think it was John Mark Comer that either said it in a book or podcast or something about how it was it JP Morgan or someone a long time ago?
I'm going to read it to you because
You have it?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it's a great quote.
Because there was a certain time period where marketing shifted and everything kind of changed in our culture.
Mm-hmm. Paul Mazur, Lehman Brothers.
1927. He
said this: "We must shift America from a needs to a desires culture. People must be trained to desire, to want new things, even before the old things haven't been entirely consumed. We must shape a new mentality. Man's desires must overshadow his needs."
Ooh. And it was almost like a prophetic word.
Yeah.
Because that is who we are today.
Yeah, we have accomplished this guy's vision of the world big time. Yep.
But he kind of led the way, I think, right, in the way marketing shifted, in the way kind of the goods and services industry provided things to the world.
Yep.
Instead of when your washing machine breaks, it's no, you need a new, bigger, better, whatever.
Yeah. It's the beginning of what they call planned obsolescence.
Ooh.
Which is how can you make things obsolete so that we need more? So for instance, you make things that don't last, so people need to purchase more often. Or on a larger scale, like yesterday, I'm totally happy with my phone.
Yeah.
I've not thought recently at all about my phone and needing a new one.
Which isn't unlike you sometimes.
Right. Yeah. Totally happy. Totally content. And then I get an email from Apple saying, if you trade in now, here's what your phone is worth. And they've already calculated it for me. And here's what you could get. And what they want to do is they want to keep me. It's planned obsolescence.
Okay.
They want to get me out of my old phone before it's even, it's still working just fine.
Right.
In order to just start a new purchase with them. So this is now really the mentality of the world in which we live that we don't even think anything about. You know, before our cars wear out, we're ready for the next car.
Yep.
Before our clothes wear out, we're ready for a new style or a new trend.
Even appliances, you and I talk about this all the time. We grew up with parents who never,
my goodness,
never bought new things.
Yeah.
But our appliances, I remember
orange refrigerator.
we had a yellow one.
We had an orange one until I feel like 2 years ago, but it was probably 15 or 10.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
And I remember when a part would break, either my dad would fix it because he's good at that, or you'd call the Kenmore guy from Sears or wherever, and they'd come and they'd fix your fridge.
Yep.
And it would last another 5 years till it broke again. Then they come fix it again. And that thing would last for forever.
Yeah.
And then we all had colored fridges well into the 90s.
Yeah, we don't do that. Cool. We don't live that way anymore. Except
don't live that
way. Not recently, 2 years ago, we had you remember our back doorknob started falling off?
Yeah.
So I stuck a paper clip in it, and that paper clip has held.
It's lasted.
If anyone wants to break into our house, all you have to do is remove that paper clip. But so every now and then we repair things, but for the most part, we do not live in a culture any longer that values repair and make things last.
But they don't. But that's the other thing is the industries, they don't make them that way. Do you remember when we moved into our first house and our fridge broke? And we happened to have like a warranty, a home warranty.
Oh, yeah.
And I called the warranty to come for the guy to come and fix the
I remember
fridge.
this.
And he said, well, I could fix it, except for it's now the computer system in the fridge that's broken. And that would mean it's going to be this much money when really you could just buy a new fridge. And that was the first time, because I was still coming off my parents.
Yeah.
That was our first house, so we didn't have many other experiences of like, no, you just fix it. And that was the first time that I was like, oh, wow. And he said, they just don't make them. And he was an older guy. He was like, they don't make them like they used to.
Yeah.
But it's true. They don't make them like they used to because they want you to buy the next one.
It's cheaper for them to make. And so even if you go beyond kind of what we're being fed and you kind of get into the reason it gets traction with us is because it connects with something in the human heart.
Ooh.
Like I think the cultural draw of consumerism is, it works.
Right.
Because
there's something
feeds
in
something
us.
inside of us that it connects with and clicks with. Another good quote for us is a French sociologist, Jean I can't say his last name.
Just don't try.
Baudrillard. And he says this, basically, materialism has become the new dominant system of meaning.
Ooh.
So that's
where people are finding their meaning.
Finding meaning, finding identity, finding
stuff.
status. He goes on to say, atheism hasn't replaced culture or Christianity. Shopping has.
Oh, dang.
Isn't that interesting? Because
Yeah.
Christianity, in its truest sense, is where we find identity. It's where we find meaning. It's where we find purpose, significance, relational connection with the divine and with one another. But materialism has now, in many ways, or consumerism has become that.
Wow.
That is now our new source of meeting that deep-seated need inside of us. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we see it, though.
Yeah.
It feels
it's
real.
everywhere.
And I feel like it's not just people who don't have Jesus. It's in the church, too. I mean, we struggle with it. We were just saying that's still something.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we're made aware of it very often. Like, you don't hear, I can't think of too many times I've preached on this kind of a topic. I think one time
many people
that I
talk
can
about
think
it.
of, I preached on simplicity. Now I'll preach on money and I'll weave some of this stuff in there. But one time in particular, I preached on on simplicity. And I remember it kind of turned some heads of like, oh, is this, I'm having a hard time connecting with this. Because we don't really unearth it a whole lot.
No.
It has become so normal for us to live in this way where, we update our house whenever we're tired of the look. We get a new car whenever we want something. And so it's just, we're living that way. And we don't take time to like sit and think on a deep level, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? And is it really the wisest way to live?
Or presenting it to the Lord and saying, God, what do you want me to do next? Like this thing broke, or I need a new car. What kind of car do you want me to get instead of just getting the next thing you want?
Yeah. So we're not in a sense like trying to moralize this. I think it's just the reality of A, the world we live in, B, the human condition and how those things intersect to feed us a lie that we often buy that actually won't produce. So I think of Jesus's words in Luke 12:15, one's life is not determined by one's possessions. Life does not consist of an abundance of possessions is another version. So I was thinking about the different things that materialism does in our lives, or you could say consumerism does in our lives, like the constant need to have. What does this do in our lives? The first, it offers counterfeit identity.
Yeah,
right. It kind of gives us this sense that like what I have is like my thing, and that's kind of my identity. Like I'm the person who
has cool shoes.
I'm the person with the newest technology. I'm the whatever it is. It's you can find your identity markers in possessions.
I mean, it's so true. I think about for you, it might be shoes.
It could be.
For me, I realized, okay, it's not just that I want to make sourdough. I'm still on my sourdough journey. Well, now there's all these women out there, and men, bakers, who are sharing about their sourdough. And then I use this bowl, and I use this thermometer, and I use this special spoon or mixer or whatever. And you feel like, well, if I'm going to make good sourdough like that person, then I better get those things. And so it isn't just about, hey, I just want to make sourdough. Now I've got to make my whole identity. I've got to have all the right things. So
and then the T-shirt that says something while you're doing it, so you can post about it.
That's what I'm saying. So it does. It really can become your identity.
The source of identity. It can create a false sense of significance. So that's where we get the thinking of status symbols, right? The kind of clothes you wear, the kind of car you drive, the place you go to vacation, the neighborhood you live in, whatever it is. We can find it gives us this sense of, I think, a false sense of significance in the world. Or it can just be a coping mechanism, right? Retail therapy.
Yeah.
It's I don't feel good, buy something. And now that's just more accessible than ever before.
Well, because
you can just jump on Amazon and have something.
Yeah, it's that treat yourself mentality.
Yeah. So there's this, all of that is something in the human heart that it's okay. We crave, we are made for identity, significance, And when there's a sense of emptiness that we're feeling, for a way to
fulfillment,
to fulfill that. Yeah. So we're made for all those things. It's just that we have allowed, and that's what this guy was getting at when he said, that materialism has replaced cultural Christianity, is this idea that shopping, has replaced it, is our desire to consume has now met all of these deep-seated needs.
That's really interesting.
That really need to be met in more significant and lasting ways. But again, we never think about it.
No.
And we're not real challenged by it. It's just so in the air we breathe that we often don't live differently.
But
so
gosh,
how could we?
When you connect it to those deeper pieces, that does make you go like, okay, we need to do something about this.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want these things to become my identity. I don't want it to be where I find my fulfillment. What was the third one? I don't want it to
status
to become like who I'm known as first before being known through Jesus.
Yeah. So what do you do? How do we?
I don't know.
Fend it off.
You're the pastor.
Yeah.
Tell us what it is.
And I'm the consumer.
And you
Clearly,
are.
yeah.
You are.
I know I am.
We both are.
Yep. So I think a few things. I think on like the deepest level, if you just want to start there and then we can get more practical, I think on the deepest level, we do have to evaluate why we do the things we do. What is it we're really what need are we actually trying to meet with the way that we consume? Now, consuming can look like all kinds of things. I mean, we could talk about consuming entertainment, consuming food, consuming whatever it is, alcohol, people, like what, I mean, it
can be anything.
But generally the thinking of when I'm kind of going after more consumption, and let's just say kind of the shopping materialism, what is it what need am I trying to meet?
So you have to be
look
deeper
at patterns?
more in touch with yourself.
You look at patterns.
Yeah.
You try to evaluate how it makes you feel when you make that purchase, or when that thing shows up at your door, or when you wear that thing to an event. Like what is it that that this transaction is adding to your life, and is that a healthy? Because it's fine to like enjoy things.
Right. It's
fine to find pleasure in things. It's fine to purchase something and be excited about it and feel good about what you're wearing and enjoy, like there is a healthy version of that.
Right.
You have to do a little bit of deep searching to try and figure out, but has this gone beyond just the lighthearted enjoyment of the things God's allowed me to have in my life, and has it become attachment?
Yeah.
Has it become a level of attachment and need?
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Right.
Is it filling a need that I'm realizing there's a void there?
Yeah. And so
when I'm without it, if I don't have the next thing,
am I less happy?
Still feeling a void.
Yeah.
Then you need to let that kind of make you aware and bring it before the Lord.
As my counselor will always say, pay attention to that. Like you have to pay attention to that. So it's one thing to, purchase something and be like, oh yeah, I'm excited about this. It was cool. Found a good deal or whatever. Like it was worth the money. Versus if I don't have this, I feel this emptiness or whatever it is.
So it takes awareness.
Evaluate, and doing a little heart work to just think about it. And that might sound so strange to some people, but think about the patterns. Think about how often you purchase, how often you're kind of online shopping and scrolling, and when are you doing that? At what point in the day? And what's your emotional state when you do that? Good. And so that'll start to give you some indicators of, is this like a good, healthy enjoyment, or is this me feeling a sense of attachment or need to something or a habit or a pattern that's probably not, that's giving me a counterfeit for what God wants to do? I
think also presenting it before the Lord, like it's a little easier to do maybe with bigger purchase. God, should we get this house or should we get this car? But I think the practice of anything, like, okay, Lord, do I really need this?
Yeah.
Is this, and if I don't, and that's okay, if I still want it, is it going to, like, I just want to make sure I'm being wise with my money. I want to make sure I'm holding it open to you. Like, I think just those are good things to remember. Always bring the Lord into that conversation.
Bring him into that, because he's ultimately, especially if you're trying to meet a need, He's the source that is intended to meet all those needs. I think on a more practical level, but it's kind of mid-level, and then we'll get super practical, but is some actually spiritual disciplines related to the stuff in your life. I would call them complementary disciplines of generosity and simplicity. Like be generous with what you have, and that helps with the attachment issue. And living a life of simplicity on some level, and you can determine what simplicity looks like for you, but that to me deals with the issue of trying to fill needs. So then you limit what material things are feeding you, and you choose a level of simplicity. For instance, I'm only going to have these many clothes or this many shoes, or I'm only going to spend X amount of dollars on something. That's where simplicity would go, and where generosity would go is it helps with the attachment issue. I remember early in my, so at our rehearsal dinner, you may not remember this, but one of the things that one of my buddies said, who lived with me all through college and early 20s, he would joke about, he said, "You're the guy who finds the deal and go and gets it, and with like the computer, is so excited about it, and then you go give it away because you feel bad that you don't need it, and then you go get another one because you really still want it, and it's like this, you buy, you give, you buy, you give, you buy, you give." So that was me and my tensions of life. The one thing maybe I had right in that season was the willingness to give away. And I do think, when we can be open-handed with the things that are in our lives, it helps make sure that they don't land in a place in our hearts that sinks too deep, I
always think about we had a friend here at Lifegate, a couple who anytime you would tell them you liked something, they would give it to
me.
She would do the same to me. A piece of jewelry or a book that
sunglasses.
They would, anytime anyone said, "Oh, I really love that thing," they would just give it to you.
I know a lot of people like that still.
I
have to be careful what I say I like around them.
But there are people who do that, and I think I think part of that is that practice of, I'm not attached to these things. They don't define me. And it's a practice of generosity.
It is.
I remember you did that with like books for a season too. And you gave away like so many books.
I know.
And you like books.
That policy expired.
Don't come to Micah for books. He's got a stamp in the front.
No, not anymore.
But I think that's a good practice. That's a way to practice generosity, not just generosity with your money, but generosity with your things is a way to keep your heart in check with things, especially things you love.
Yep. And then the most practical, I think, would be just like really being smart about the purchases you make, talking to people about. I mean, one of the things that people hate to do is to talk to their friends about their purchases. I think that's important to do.
I think so. I mean, you and I talk about pretty much every purchase together.
But even having people beyond your marriage who you can say, if you're married, but having friends in your life where you could say, "Hey, I'm thinking about this. What do y'all think?" There's like there's a place of kind of open-heartedness that creates that allows you to, if you're kind of justifying something and it maybe is filling a need in you, like usually good friends will kindly
I think it has to be the right friends though, because I know I have some friends, and maybe this is just women, like, girl, you get that. You deserve it. Buy that thing. Treat yourself instead of...
And there are times for that.
There are times for that. But then there are other times where it's like, "Hey, don't you already have one of those? I thought you just bought one." Yeah, you're right. I did. Remind me of that. Remind me that I liked it and that I don't need another one. I think we do need to do that more.
Yeah, people who maybe value the same stuff you value and maybe understand your heart and your motivations a little bit and can help you guard some things.
I think another practice I know for me is I have to watch who I'm following on social media.
Gotcha.
Because everyone's an influencer.
Many influencers.
You don't? Yes, you do.
Who?
Everyone's
Maybe
an influencer.
They come at me in a different version.
They do.
But not like, buy this, buy that.
No, but it's like, "Oh, I use this thing and I love it." I mean,
I can't think of anybody who tells me those things. No, not really.
We follow very different people.
It's more ideas that I follow and not so much.
Books, you buy so many. There we go. There it is. Shoes, maybe?
Shoes,
Okay, see,
Nike
you follow
stuff.
influencers. But like, because everyone, we follow people who we enjoy, but then they share something that you realize, oh, well, that seemed to make their life better.
Yeah.
Maybe I should get that. And I've realized when I'm scrolling more, I tend to want to shop more because you can click that link that they just shared, get their 20% off or whatever. And I realized that's why I love Sabbath, because I get off of social media and try to just be thankful for the things that I already have and not consume.
Yeah.
That's part of, for me, my mental Sabbath practice. But then I'll go on a unfollow rampage, realizing I need to curb my spending, curb and be content with what I have.
Yep.
And I can't follow these people for a season.
Yeah, you have to turn off. I mean, we live in a world where we are being pursued with good deals, the next thing. I mean, it is this Paul Mazur. It is that on steroids where we live now.
Right
a
now.
desires culture where we are taught to want more than we need. Yeah. So you got to turn it off.
Yeah, you do.
Silence it. Be
Quiet
aware of it.
it.
Listen to it. And be skeptical, too, of where I can get sucked into every good marketing campaign, like to be skeptical of that, to know like this is their goal is, they might say it's to make your life better. Their goal is to make money off of you.
Absolutely.
And yes, there are products that will make your life better as you discern and as you use wisdom on what you need
and what you want.
The lifestyle God is allowing you and calling you to live. And then be able to have a little self-control beyond that.
Yeah. That's hard.
Yeah.
But it's worth doing.
And it is an art more than a science.
Yes, it is.
So don't this is kind of last piece of advice is do not risk friendships by judging other people's efforts in the same areas.
That's really
because
good because
it's an art, not a science.
That.
Yeah. You can't say, well, hey, it was wrong for you to buy this outfit, those shoes, that car, that house. And we moralize these things, and it causes relational conflict that's just not necessary. You have to be careful not to judge others that's
really good.
As you grow in this area of being aware around consumerism. Don't judge those who see it differently or still are in a different place, and don't assume where you've arrived is the right place either.
Yeah,
do it
there's
with humility.
Always growth too.
Yeah.
We all have it, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
Good places to start.
All right, so good question for those listening is, what is it? Where are you most vulnerable to the world around you convincing you to get the next best thing? What is it feeding in your life? And maybe how could you find some people around you to give you some wisdom, insight, and help you with some self-control so that your ultimate meaning, significance, fulfillment is found in Jesus. Yep. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for listening to When We Walk, and we can't wait to be with you next time.
See ya.